Hello everyone, welcome to another video on my YouTube channel Code and Converse. And in this video, we are going to cover agents in GitHub Copilot. So in our last video, we saw how to write skills in Copilot to optimize your coding using the Copilot. So here we will talk about agents. So as you can see, the way to create an agent is very similar to instructions or skills. You have to create a folder called agents inside that GitHub directory, and you have to write a file with the naming convention of .agent.md. So any file that you create inside .agents directory with a naming suffix of .agent.md is considered an agent while the Copilot session loads in your GitHub in your VS Code. So as you can see, I have created few agents here, which are code reviewer, DevOps helper, docs writer, security auditor, and test generator. So to create an agent, the format is pretty similar to the skills. You have a name, you have a description, and you can also have tools, what tools this agent is allowed to use while working on a particular task. So you can also provide other metadata that you think will be necessary for your own documentation, or this can be helpful to you. But for an agent or for a copilot, the main things that are needed are name, description, and tools that are allowed for the agent to use. So as you can see, it's a very similar markdown file like skills. Like you have this the properties at the top, then you have your description of the task, like how to perform the task and everything. For example, code reviewer agent. Here you will say what is the role of this particular agent. So you are a code reviewer agent who analyzes the code for these potential vulnerabilities like code quality issues, security vulnerabilities, performance problems, and everything. Then you tell the process like understand the context, then systematic analysis, then performance review, code quality review, and TypeScript, JavaScript specific reviews. Then provide a structured feedback based on the format that you have provided. Then you mention some quality standards, example scenarios, and basically and detailed instructions how to perform a particular task. So first of all, I'll like to clear how they are different from the skills that we have seen in our last video. So if we will just compare skills and agents, both are markdown files just sitting at different places in the GitHub directory. But the difference is in their semantics. For example, skills are something that you write to perform or optimize a particular task. For example, if you are committing the code is a task. Then you want to tell the copilot you have to follow these instructions or these steps while committing while writing the good commits. That you will mention in the skill. While agent works on a higher level. Here you provide a role, a functionality to the agent. Like it's a code reviewer agent, it's a docs writer agent, it's a security auditor agent. But inside this agent, they can use multiple skills. For example, if we talk about this code reviewer agent, here it's looking into different issues and vulnerabilities, right? For example, security vulnerabilities, performance problems, code quality issues, best practice evaluations, and potential bugs, right? So all of these can be independent tasks, and they can be described as independent skills in the skills directory, and you can just tell the agent to use those skills while looking into these different sections whenever they look into security vulnerabilities. You can ask the agent to look into security vulnerabilities skill and do the analysis in that particular manner. Similarly, if you want to figure out code quality issues, you can just create a skill for code quality issues, and in the agent you can just mention that use this skill while working on this particular step. So agent is kind of a workflow which takes a task, implements it from end to end, and inside it may use multiple skills to perform that task. Obviously, you can write everything inside the agent as well, like instead of creating skills, the way I have done here, like for example, while doing the semantic analysis, I've just mentioned everything here, like what to do and what to look for, along with the examples and everything. You can just move that out to the skills as well. Like inside the agent, you can just mention the steps, and then you can just add various skills for various steps. So whenever the agent will perform that particular step, as mentioned in this document, in this README doc, it will just go to that skill, it will perform the task the way written in skill, it will come back and move on to the another steps. So I will create a separate demo video how you can use both skills and agent to create some automatic workflows. There I'll show you how you can combine both of them and create a super automatic workflows. So for now, let's see how the agents work. So unlike skills, they are not triggered by your Copilot based on the description or the prompt that you are providing to the Copilot. So for example, this is a code reviewer agent, right? If I ask Copilot right now to review the code, or if I ask Copilot right now to write some test cases or write some documentation, it will not directly jump into these agents directly, and it will not pick up based on the task which for which the agent is defined or based on the description that you have provided here. Once you have defined some agents here, if you want to use that particular agent to perform your task, either you can just mention it in your prompt. For example, let's say I will be using this docs writer agent. Let me try that. So document the code present in this repo using docs writer agent. So either you can mention it like this in your prompt. So if I just in a prompt, then it will just look for the agent that is similar to this particular name. If it finds it, it will load it and start doing tasks according to that. Otherwise, you can just select it from this drop-down menu. So once you have created your custom agent, you can just select this drop-down menu. And as you can see, instead of agent, ask, and plan, now you have your own custom agents as well present here. You can just select your docs writer agent here. Now, if you just say document this code, and let it run. Let me select Sonnet 4.5 instead of this, or Typo actually. Let me look for other models. Yeah. Now let's see. So now if it will go to my doc writer agent. So if I just go here and expand this, it should be reading the file. Yep. I'm in the docs writer mode. So it's saying it's using this particular agent, docs writer mode, to perform this task. So it will just go to this file. It will see how to perform the documentation step. It will create a README structure, and it will have a API documentation format. It will have a code documentation, which will be the JSON docs present on at the top of the functions. Then we have something called user guides and tutorials. So and everything. So for now, as you can see, it's complaining about tools. If you will look at the top, I have mentioned some tools in this particular agent, right? For example, read file, create file, replace string in a file, semantic search, list code uses. But I think this for this particular task, this agent needs more tools than we have listed here. So it's complaining about that. Like, could you enable file reading and exploration tools so I can do particular operations? So what I'll do for now, I'll just edit it and I'll remove all the tools from this agent. So once I remove this whole thing and save it, now let me reload my VS Code. So I will just quit this application and start it again. Now after I reload my VS Code, and let's try this again. So I will just select my docs writer agent again. So this time I will be using Sonnet. So let's change the model to, let's say, Sonnet, and I'll say document the code present in demo directory. Since we have other files as well outside the demo directory, which are for demo purpose, so I'll just also mention to not document the files present outside demo directory. So let's see what happens now. So once I run this prompt, and it should pick up my docs writer agent because I have selected the agent here, which is my custom agent. And you will see it must be containing it must be creating some to-do list for itself. So it's looking into demo src index ts, package json, ts config json, readme, and agent uses guide. I think that is present inside my. It's also present inside my demo directory, right? So let's see. Let's wait for it to finish. Then we will see how it documented things out. So it took 3 minutes to complete the whole documentation. So let's go through all the files that it created. So if you will see our if you see our agent, we have asked to update the README. Then we have API documentation based on this format, where we are for each endpoint we are talking about authentication, request headers, body, schema, and everything. Then we have code documentation, which is present inside the code as well, code only in the form of doc string above the function. Then we have user guidance tutorial, and then other basic requirements. So let's start with index.txt. So as you can see, for each function, it has added this doc strings at the top of each function. So basically, for this constant users, it has added a doc string. Then I think for each endpoint also, it has added the doc string along with the route returns and examples and everything, which are needed to document each API endpoint. Apart from that, I see a API documentation that ND as well, which is like telling about the base URL, then authentication. Like I don't think we have any authentication in any endpoint right now. So for each endpoint, we have examples and everything here. So query params none, request headers are these, no authentication, endpoint is this, then a response, and response schema. Then it should then there is some examples I think for JavaScript, TypeScript, and code. Then we have another endpoint create user, same thing for that. And then we should have other endpoints as well, like login endpoint and everything. So it created documentation for each API. Then it has created some updated the README. So based on the format that we have given. So in this also we have talked about the API endpoints and everything. Then we have something called docs and docs and development.md. So I think it also created these guides based on the other extra files that I have in this demo, right? So inside this SRC, I have index.ts, which contains all my code, but I have other readmes and other files as well, which I needed for this demo, which I created for a demo purpose. I think it's documenting everything that is inside demo directory and whatever it could follow from the docs writer agent requiring JSON docs string readme API documentation format. It did that, and it did some extra as well, adding these two files. So based on how clear your agent is written, how clear the instructions inside the agent are written, it will just perform the task in that manner, and it will give you more robust output, more clear output if your agent is more clear. So let's try one more agent. Let's try the test generator agent. So this agent I have written for writing the test. So for this one as well, let me just remove these tools. I'm not sure how many tools it will need to write the test, but for now, let's remove these tools and save it. And let's see how it works. So I'll just undo all of this. Let me just do this, and I'll just create a new session. And now I will just look for test generator agent. So let's do that. Right, test for all the code presenting demo slash src slash I think index.tss is the file. So index.ts. So now if you will go through this agent is solely for writing test cases purposes. So if you will see, we have some testing standards like testing file name, source is user service.ts, then the test file name should be user service.test.ts or user service.spec.ts. So first of all, it's trying to add some dependencies. I think we have dependencies in our package JSON. So let's do that. Then we have given the test structure, how the test structure should be there. Then the test categories like unit test should be there, then integration test should be there, and edge cases, error cases, and marking behaviors and everything. So we have given few details about the test cases in our agent. So let's see how it will write the test. So let's wait for this agent to finish. So I just allow everything in the session. It has created a just config and package JSON. It has updated the package JSON, I think, with the scripts and packages needed for test, and it has created a just config.json on its own. So let's wait for it to finish, and we'll see how the test cases were written. So my agent got stuck on this step like npm test. So I think because it has added some scripts, and I think I haven't installed all the dependencies in this package.json yet. I think it's stuck at this point. So but let's see the test that it has written. So if you will see, we have talked about unit test, integration test, edge cases, and error cases in our agent, right? So let's see if it has written two tests according to that. So we will see it has put the same file below beside the index.ts, and it has followed the naming convention that we suggested in our agent, like index.test.ts. So it has first written the express API test. I think we are each unit test. It is doing some mocking because we have mentioned some mocks as well, right, inside this. I think we have mentioned the mocking behavior as well somewhere. So we'll look for it. Integration test, then edge cases, then other cases, and mocking best practices. So we are doing the mock clear. We have asked it to do the mock clear if it's doing some mocking. So everything is following that. It has a mock clear all mocks present in the before each. Then it has a test for an API users. So let me just put that. Then it has post API users. Let me just use that, and API login test we have. And then we have integration test as well. So we have first express API test, then we have for each we have some tests, then we have some integration test. So let me just close the integration test as well. Then we have some edge cases and error handling for each API, I think. So I see API users, API login, and everything. So let me just close this as well. So you can see it is written lots of tests, integration tests, unit tests, edge cases, error handling, and everything. But it has put everything inside the same file, right? That is because we have not mentioned anything like that in our test generator agent. So we have told the agent to write tests about integration tests, unit tests, edge cases, and everything, but we have not clearly mentioned that create separate files for unit tests and integration tests, right? So you have to be very clear while writing your agent, like what you want your agent to do and how to do it, like whether use a skill or things like that, or uh, create a separate skill for a unit test or integration test. Like in the unit test, you can just focus in the unit test skill. You can just focus on unit test, how to write them, what you need to follow, what you need to take care of while writing unit test. And for integration test as well, you can create a separate skill and use those skills instead of mentioning everything here in this agent only. So I think it did some changes again. It's been asking me to confirm this command and run the unit test again. But let's stop it. So I'll not do that. I'll not give any confirmation because we already have a test. Obviously, it will not be running because I've not done any, I've not installed all the packages yet. So I think it's failing because of that. But yeah, as you can see, because of the agent, the steps that we wrote in agent, it followed that and it created the files accordingly. So you can just check it on your own. Like you can just start with a small agent, like create a small demo project on your own, and write a small agent to do some simple tasks. Maybe writing a commit message or writing a unit test. Like create a simple agent and do not mention long prompts. Like just write simple tasks. Try with that. Then keep on adding things to that agent. That you will see how the Copilot behaves according to your agent if you have written your agent. Or you can do something like this as well. Like create a skill, create an agent, and inside the agent, when you are performing a particular task, just ask the agent to invoke that skill. Like just type something like this: invoke slash the skill name, maybe skill name to perform this. To perform this. So, or you can mention similarly like a prompt, like invoke skill name skill to perform this. So both ways, it will just invoke that skill to perform that particular task, and then it will move on to the next step. So I hope this makes things clear to you. A skill is something where you mention how to perform a particular task in a detailed manner. While the agent, you provide a role. You provide a role to the agent, like it's the responsibility of the agent is the code reviewer, or responsibility, or it's a testing agent which is responsible for writing tests. How it will write the test or how it will review the code, it can go to a particular skill and check that out. So agent can go to skills, find out how to perform the particular task that it has given and follow that. So this is how agents and skills work together. So I'll create a demo video. Uh, I will create a separate demo video where I'll combine both skills and agent. I'll create an automatic workflow with all this, where we will generate requirements, we will generate Jira tickets, and then we will implement the tickets. We will fetch the Jira ticket from the Jira, and we will implement them using this automated workflow of agents and skills. So please wait for that video, and till that time, please keep practicing and like, share, and subscribe. And have a nice day.